it's exciting to get a chance to play at home this week. We, as a team, there's a few things that are good markers right now, and the fact that we've won 3 of our last 4 road games in this program. Now we got to get this home thing solved, right, and do that. And so the emphasis we made the other day with our players was talking about the fact that we don't walk into War Memorial Stadium with a 7-0 lead. We walk in as 0-0. If it was that way a year ago, we've been 5-1 at home. Instead, we were 1-5. So we have to understand, like, we're gonna playing at home. We're gonna get everybody's. I mean, this is a great atmosphere that people play in, and you just look at what we just played in this past week. A lot of people don't get excited to go on the road and play in that. People will get excited to come here because it's going to be a great atmosphere. We're going to get a great shot from Northern Iowa. They're coached well. Coach Stepsis, the new head coach there, was 2-time, conference coach of the year when he was at Drake, and knows what he's doing. They coach him well, and they'll be very well prepared and come in here, and we've got to expect them to play very well, and we need to play very well. We need to play very well because we just need to play well and to get to a second game, and so we're excited about all that. I feel like that we should make ginormous improvement in our program from week 1 to week 2, in large part because of the number of players that were kind of new to certain positions. And even you take a couple guys with experience like Walsh, Barnett, guys like that, they're playing a new position for the first time. So they're going to get better. And so that's the expectation, that we get better all the way across the board. So with that, we'll start out with questions.
Jay, you were a pretty good linebacker back in your playing days. Do you take any extra pride in watching a small school guy like linebacker like Braden have a debut like that when you said he hasn't even played in front of a crowd bigger than the spring game?
Well, look, when we set out in the recruiting part to add players at that position, there were certain targets that we had in mind. Number one is the physical capability to play very well in the Mountain West, regardless of where that guy came from. But the second part was you wanted a guy that had a chip on his shoulder. I appreciated Braden Johnson. I even heard something that he said after the game, because it was brought up about, well, they got some guys from some smaller schools. He just wore that as a chip, and he will continue to wear that as a chip. And I love that part about him that way. And, he's got more than enough athletic ability. He should have been here the last 3 years. And so we're glad he's here now.
Just rewatching the tape, obviously that Akron game, 426 yards of offense. I mean, did anything maybe stick out when you were watching the tape that you didn't see on game day?
Look, we didn't finish enough drives. We didn't get ourselves to the places that we needed to get to. I mean, we were 3 of 7 on 3rd and 2 or less, or 4th and 2 or less. Okay, and you can't sustain that type of, you can't sustain drives. You can't live in that space. We need to come out of a game where you're like 6 of 7, in that type of yardage. First drive of the game, I kind of showed I'll go for it if it's close in those situations. But the reality to it is that we need to be much more productive there in short yardage. And then I think, look, there's some guys. I'll use this as an example. There's some guys we had offensively kind of playing for the first time, Bryson Brantley and some things of that nature, right? There we had some guys defensively playing for the first time, like a Tyrese Boss, in that regard. We need a lot more of them to react the way Tyrese Boss did. Tyrese Boss, it was like, okay, it's my turn, I'm going to go. We had a couple other guys that had to work through some jitters and that type. We need a far better performance offensively, this week and going forward, with more people stepping up, more people doing the right things all the way through the course of the game. And so that's we'll get to that, but I have seen us perform far better on a practice field and in scrimmages in doing that, and then all of a sudden the lights come on and we have some guys not play as well as what they need to, and we've got to get that accomplished.
Coach, did you see any of that with those new guys new to the game improve in the second half?
I don't know. That's hard to quantify. You know, whether there was a change in them in the second half and the first half. I mean, I think some of it was about the same for some of them. You know, I thought Jackson Holman, you know, you saw come on as the game went on, and you know we had an expectation there that he would play well. We need more guys to play well at receiver. We're obviously going to need to use more running backs than what we used. We need to be better in short yardage. We've got to, you know, John Mike Gillenborg's got to be more involved in certain things. So there's a lot of little areas that we sit there and go, okay, these have to be, you know, checked off the list of what we need to get done.
Jay, this team program hasn't exactly dominated FCS opponents in your time here. I mean, it took a last-second deal to beat Montana State. Obviously, last year didn't go your way. Why do these teams pose so many problems for the Cowboys in this building?
I mean, look, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. Number one, we've played some pretty good ones, okay? And, you know, I think we'll play a pretty good one this week, too. I think in that regard. So let's just start there. You know, there's other schools out there that you could play that nobody's heard of that you're going to line up and win by 50 points or something. That's not the case in this situation. So I also think, you know, like a couple of them, I mean, like Montana State, the one year, they went to the FCS championship, you know, and they were kind of loaded. There was a really, really good team. And then I also think there's been a couple hiding in there, you know, Portland State after Texas Tech. Well, you know, we came off that Texas Tech game, and I thought maybe we didn't handle the following week the right way. We bang, bang, bang practice-wise. Next thing you know, I thought we were a little step slow going into that game. And again, we've got to expect it. All this, like I said, Northern Iowa is a traditionally good program. And they've got a new coaching staff that has had success where they've been. They'll be ready to play when they come here, and their players are going to be excited to play here. And, you know, we need to make sure that we do our part within that too. But I also like the Thursday night game because I like having the extra couple days to then, number one, let your team rest. We got back at 2 a.m. Thursday night, you know, so we could take Friday and let them rest. We could have a workout on Saturday and do that. And then we can start right off today, and we're full pads, full go, and really crank up at the start of the week that a lot of times you wouldn't when you play on a Saturday. So I really like this part of it and to do that. And, you know, look, I think there's part of it too sometimes that, you know, we've had players and teams here in the past that you know, don't realize, look, there's a razor thin margin between guys that, I mean, you just saw Braden Johnson was playing Division II football. Who was our best defensive player the other night? You know, it's Braden Johnson, right? Like, there's a razor thin margin in a lot of these things as far as a guy that could play there and here and the whole thing. And so we always have to expect that. Our players will be ready, and we respect Northern Iowa. All of our coaches have a great deal of respect for that place and that program, you know, through their time.
Coach Bo and I had kind of mentioned Jackson as a guy, again, kind of with that chip on his shoulder mentality. Are you kind of seeing that as a kind of college four guy that came here for more opportunity? Yeah,
and Jackson wants the opportunity and wants the playing time, but ever since Jackson's come here, like everything that you know about him is he's PR'd in everything since he's come here from a strength and conditioning performance standpoint. So he's continued to develop the right way. He does things the right way off the field, you know, and all those things there. And I just think that, like, you see that payoff. You know, I mean, he's going to go compete and play his butt off every play, and you see the payoff to it.
Yeah, Coach, I know you got lots of depth at RB this year, but we really only saw Sam Scott get carries at Akron. You know, why was that, and will we see more running backs in the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see more here as we go. I think there was a couple things that happened in that game the other night. Number one, we give Akron credit on certain things. They did a pretty good job with their game plan and you know, had some, you know, players that could have execute some of that. But we saw a lot of, you know, pressures, some of which we had not seen from them before. Sam has a better base of experience in certain things than some of the other guys would in that. Second part is that when you are in such a close game for so long, you know, a lot of times you're just playing the guy who keeps on playing, you know, and there wasn't any kind of a rotational to it and that type of thing. And we definitely want to play more backs. We definitely want to balance that out. I don't think it's sustainable anyway to have a guy carry the ball 29 times in a game over and over and over. I think we would not be happy with the result of that by the middle of the season and that type of thing.
A couple quick ones for you, Coach. Just didn't see a lot of Jalen Sargent in this one. Why is that? And then second of all, was the defense as good as it looked when you rewatched it on tape?
Yeah, first of all, with Sarge, he's got to play better. Okay, you know, and there was some plays that he didn't play to the standard of what we wanted on those plays, and Coach Bonite, you know, pulled him from there, and you know, then in that, you know, that situation, I mean, we could have played him again and done that. There's no injury situation. He's got to play better. He knows it. I talked with him on Saturday, you know, at length about the fact that what the expectation is for you, and what that needs to be. He'll respond, and so I think you'll see a completely different Jalen Sargent this week, which is a very good thing. Defensively, you know, look, I was really, really, really pleased defensively with the effort, number one, but the execution, number two. You know, Akron tried a whole bag of things that they normally have a great deal of success with. There was tailbacks going vertical out of the backfield, sucker screens, which are kind of like the fake screens, and then try to get it deep. There was just a lot of different things that they were working and trying to get done. And, you know, as we talk all the time defensively, is you could take a 200-pound athlete that is a special athlete in the whole deal, and what really determines whether he's a good player or not typically weighs about 6 ounces, and they're on either side of the nose. It's your eyes. It's how good your eyes are. Our eyes in the secondary the other day were outstanding. We would have lost that game a year ago. We didn't have enough guys with had structure and discipline eye-wise to be able to